Alright, settle down, you maniacs, gather round, because today I'm about to drop a truth bomb that some of you might not be ready for, but trust me, you need to hear this. Many of you, bless your ambitious little hearts, constantly hit me up, slide into my DMs asking, dude, what is the secret sauce? How'd you make all this money? Spill it. And I tell you the truth, I lay it all out, bare naked honesty, and guess what? Nobody believes me. They're looking for some magic pill, some secret strategy, some get-rich quick scheme, some hidden crypto gem that is going to turn their $10 into 10 million overnight. Newsflash, my friends. That is a fairy tale, a bedtime story for those who refuse to do the actual work. Today, we're going back, way back, to the year 2015, a time when my bank account balance was a grand total of 3/4 of $1.75. Yeah, you heard that right. 75 freaking cents. That is not even enough for a gumball, let alone a life. This isn't some made-up story. This is my rock bottom. The moment that burned itself into my brain and still, to this day, makes me feel a slight twitch in my left eye when I think about it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Hold up, aren't you like 26 now? So, you were just a kid, a baby. What is the big deal about 75 cents at 17? I get it. I totally get it. A 17-year-old with 75 cents is a whole different ballgame than a 35-year-old with 75 cents. But here is the kicker. Every single one of my expenses, every single one, was on me. Me old man, bless his heart, provided a roof over my head. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. But everything else, clothes, food, entertainment, going out with friends, all of it came out of my own pocket, or in this case, my empty pocket. So yeah, 75 cents when you're responsible for literally everything. That is a big damn deal. That is a panic attack waiting to happen. That is a full-blown crisis. And why am I sharing this incredibly vulnerable, slightly embarrassing, and definitely uncomfortable story? Because I truly believe everyone, every single one of us, has a rock-bottom moment. It might be financial, like mine, it might be emotional, a brutal breakup, a devastating loss, or just feeling completely lost and without purpose. Whatever it is, I hope this little trip down memory lane can, in some small way, help you navigate your own struggles, help you see a light at the end of the tunnel, even if that tunnel feels impossibly long and dark right now. This isn't a polished, perfectly scripted, how-to video. Nope, this is raw, unscripted, straight from the heart. Just me spilling the beans, because some stories are just too important to keep to yourself. So, let's rewind. Picture it. I'm 17 years old, wide-eyed, probably a little too arrogant for my own good, and I'm dabbling in something called binary options trading. Now, I'm pretty sure that whole shady operation isn't even legal in Canada anymore, and for good reason. But back then, I was convinced I was some kind of financial wizard, a prodigy. I poured my entire life savings, a grand total of $200, into this scheme. That was the minimum deposit. Mind you, 200 hard-earned dollars, gone, just like that. Poof. I've been scouring my old files all morning, trying to dig up screenshots of those transactions, those heartbreaking, naive mistakes, but my bank statements only go back to 2018. So, if I manage to find anything, any proof of my past idiocy, you'll see it pop up here. Maybe some blurry screenshots from my 2 or 3 iCloud accounts ago. It is going to be a trip. The thing about binary options, if you Google it, you'll get a better explanation than I can give right now. But essentially, you're just betting whether a stock will go up or down in a super short time frame. It is deceptively simple, incredibly fast-paced, and designed to make you feel like you're in control, until you're not. So, I lost my $200, and it gets worse. I'm pretty sure even if I had won, the payouts were rigged. Sketchy as hell. But hey, hindsight is 20/20, right? Fast forward a bit to the summer of 2015. I'm diving headfirst into real estate wholesaling, another one of my brilliant, unrefined schemes. This was also around the time my dad and I were constantly at war, clashing heads like two rams in mating season. He'd be all like, "Son, you need to get a real job, stop messing around with these pipe dreams." And I, with all the wisdom of a 17-year-old, would fire back, "No, Dad, trust me, I've got this. I don't need a job. I'm gonna make this work." Spoiler alert, it took a decade, a full 10 years for me to actually make it work. And even then, it has only been in the last couple of years that things really started clicking, that I started making some serious strides, making some actual money. Another one of my genius ventures was Twitch streaming, which looking back was probably one of the dumbest things I ever did. I mean, I actually got some initial traction, a few followers, but I didn't make a dime, not a single penny. And the worst part, I wasn't even passionate about it. I was just chasing the money, which, as you'll learn, is the absolute worst reason to do anything, especially when it comes to building something sustainable. So, where was my income coming from during all this? You ask, birthday money, Christmas money. That was it. Literally, my entire financial ecosystem revolved around holidays. The real wake-up call, the moment that finally slapped me across the face and knocked some sense into me, didn't come until the end of 2017. He had tried so many damn things, failed at so many damn things. It was like a highlight reel of bad decisions. In 2016, I received a small inheritance from my grandma, $1,000 or $1,100. It was incremental, released at a certain age. That little bit of money kept me afloat for a while, a temporary reprieve from my self-inflicted financial misery. But the point is, I still wasn't making any money. I was just trying to prove to myself, and more importantly, to my dad, that I could do it, that I could make something of myself. I wanted to rub it in his face, wanted to show him that I didn't need a real job, that my unconventional path would eventually lead to success. And eventually it did. But man, it was a long, brutal journey, a 10-year marathon of trial and error, mostly error. The biggest message I want to hammer home today, especially to you young guns out there, is this: dude, this whole wealth-building thing, this entrepreneurship game, it takes time, a lot of time. Nobody, and I mean nobody, should expect a 16, 17, or 18-year-old kid, no matter how driven, to be making millions overnight. I'm not saying it is impossible. I mean, in today's wild world, anything can happen, but let's be realistic. Set some clear expectations. Don't overvalue what you don't need to, and just be careful. Man, trust me, enjoy being a kid, have fun, make mistakes, but also channel that ambition, that fire in your belly, into something productive, something real. That ambition, that relentless drive, was one of my biggest strengths back then. It is scary how badly I wanted to make things work, how desperately I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But here's the thing. I was always trying to jump to step 10 when I hadn't even figured out steps 1 through 9 yet. That was my biggest mistake, trying to skip the foundational work, the crucial learning, the inevitable grind. So, that was a huge wake-up call, and there wasn't one single action I took to get out of that rut. It was a series of mindset shifts, a gradual evolution. I realized I just needed to try everything, every single thing I possibly could, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And that is exactly what I did. I dove into every opportunity, every idea, every potential path. I didn't really have many bad habits, surprisingly, but I was incredibly stubbornly convinced I was on the right track, even when all evidence pointed otherwise. I was so damn close to closing a wholesale real estate deal, a multi-figure deal, like $2-point-something million. I still have the screenshot somewhere, a painful reminder of how close I came. But then, the seller, a French-speaking gentleman, who for some reason I decided to tell my age, 17. Yeah, stupid, I know. He just didn't get it, didn't understand my role, probably thought I was some punk kid playing pretend, and because I didn't speak French, and he was quite difficult to communicate with in English. The deal fell apart. Just like that. Gone, poof, again. It was like, are you kidding me? So close. Literally inches away from a life-changing sum of money, and it slipped through my fingers. My high school buddies, my real-life friends. We still talk about this to this day. We'd work out in the mornings, sometimes 2, 3, even 4 times a week, and then we'd hit up McDonald's or Subway for lunch. They'd always ask, "Yo, what are you getting?" And I'd be all like, "Nah, I'm not hungry, I'm good." They'd look at me with those knowing eyes, like, "Dude, we just spent 90 minutes crushing it in the gym. You're obviously starving, what are you trying to pull?" And I'd just stubbornly insist, "No, really, not hungry." But inside, my stomach was growling like a hungry bear. I was absolutely famished, starving, ravenous. You know that feeling after a good workout? You get that pump. Everything feels tight, and then if you don't refuel, you just feel flat, skinny, weird. That was me, constantly. Sometimes I'd even miss the bus because I was streaming so late, and then I'd just go to school with no food, nothing, just pure grit, and an empty stomach. My dad, again, he never gave me money for food. He was old school. You gotta earn it yourself, son. He'd say. He kept a roof over my head, allowed me to raid the pantry for whatever meager snacks or groceries we had lying around, which, at that time, wasn't much. You want clothes? Go get them yourself. Use your own money, he'd declare, and I just couldn't understand his point of view then. But looking back, it was a blessing in disguise. It forced me to hustle, to be resourceful, to set up my skills. If you've been following this channel for a while, you know I'm a huge believer in skills. Actual, tangible skills, and even though I wasn't making any money back then, I was constantly learning sales, learning basic marketing, learning how to just apply myself. I truly believe that the person who consistently applies themselves, who shows up and puts in the work, will probably achieve more than someone with a fancy technical background or a prestigious degree. I knew I wasn't good at school, never was, but I also knew I wanted to make things work, and I knew I could help other people make money. And that is exactly what I set out to do. It is just so interesting. Looking back at this time in my life, completely separate from my current business ventures. But those mistakes, man, they were so clear, so obvious. I made so many mistakes, daily mistakes, constantly stumbling and falling. But listen, if you're in the same boat, if you're in a really bad financial spot right now, or just struggling in general, I can't promise you things will get better on their own. That is a lie, a disservice. But I can guarantee you this, if you genuinely apply yourself, if you put in the work, if you refuse to give up, then yes, things will absolutely 100% unequivocally get better. But here is the secret, the real game changer, the ultimate cheat code. Invest in you first. If there is one thing, one single solitary lesson I learned from all those years of struggle, it is this. I was always so focused on putting that $200 into the stock market or those bogus binary options, always thinking about investing in real estate or some other external thing. But if I had just invested some of that money, even a small portion, into myself, into actual courses, into learning real skills, instead of learning everything the hard way, through painful, expensive mistakes, I probably would have made so much more money so much earlier, right? So anyway, that is my story, my journey from literally rock bottom, financially at least, as a kid, to where I am now, a 26-year-old, doing moderately. Okay, seeing some genuine financial success. And this, my friends, is really just the beginning, a tiny glimpse into what is possible. Hopefully this spoke to you in some way, resonated with your own experiences. As always, if you've made it this far, you're a true champion. And I want to hear from you. Do you have a story, a similar experience? Share it in the comments below. I'm perfectly fine being the weirdo, the lone wolf, but I'm genuinely curious to hear if you've been there too, or what your rock bottom moment looked like. So thank you for listening, for being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Stay boring, stay patient, peace.